I heard every single word through the crack in the door, and I wish to God I hadn't. Your mother is just dead weight. 5 words. That's all it took to shatter 27 years of sacrifice, love, and devotion into dust. I stood there in the hallway of my son's house, the house I'd helped him buy, mind you, with my overnight bag still in my hand, frozen like a fool. My heart hammered so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. The late afternoon sun streamed through the window behind me, and I remember thinking how strange it was that the world could look so bright while everything inside me went dark. If you've ever stood somewhere you weren't supposed to be and heard something you were never supposed to hear, you know that feeling. That sick, hollow drop in your stomach. That moment when your brain tries to unhear what your ears just took in. But there's no unhearing truth, is there? Before I tell you what happened next, let me just say this. If you're watching from somewhere in this world where family still matters, drop a comment below and let me know where you're from. And if you've ever been called a burden by someone you loved, someone you raised, someone you would have died for, well, you're going to want to stick around for this story. Check the description box for more stories like this, because sometimes, the best revenge isn't violence. It's success. My name is Dorothy Ann Whitmore, and I'm 63 years old. People who know me now, the people at my country club, my business associates, the society women who invite me to their charity galas, they see a polished, powerful woman who drinks expensive wine and wears pearls like armor. But back then, 3 years ago, I was just a tired widow trying to help her only son make a life with his new wife. I should tell you about that wife. Her name was Vanessa. Vanessa Lee Whitmore, though she'd only had that last name for 8 months when she said those words. 29 years old, blonde hair that cost more than most people's car payments to maintain, and a smile that could have sold ice to Eskimos. My son Bradley met her at some corporate event in Chicago. He was 33, newly promoted to senior manager at a consulting firm, and she was working in luxury brand management, which as far as I could tell meant she posted pictures of handbags on Instagram and got paid for it. I didn't like her from the start. I know that makes me sound like the cliché monster-in-law, and maybe I was being unfair. But there was something about the way her eyes went cold when she smiled, the way she touched Bradley's arm with this possessive little squeeze, the way she called me Mama Dorothy with just a hint of mockery in her voice. Still, I kept my mouth shut. Bradley loved her. That's what mattered, right? Wrong. God, I was so wrong. But let me back up. Let me tell you how I ended up in that hallway in the first place, because context matters. My husband, William, died 4 years before all this. 61 years old, massive heart attack while playing golf on a Tuesday morning. He dropped dead on the 7th hole at Oakmorn Country Club, and by the time I got to the hospital, he was already gone. We'd been married for 38 years. 38 years of partnership, of building a life together, of raising Bradley and watching him grow into a man we were proud of. William left us comfortable. Not wealthy, not by a long shot, but comfortable. He'd been careful with money, had good life insurance, and we owned our home in Lancaster, Pennsylvania outright. I got about $400,000 after everything was settled. I put most of it in safe investments, kept working my job as an executive assistant at a law firm, and tried to figure out who Dorothy Whitmore was without William beside her. It was lonely. God, it was so lonely. Bradley was all I had left. My baby boy, even though he was a grown man living 6 hours away in Chicago. We talked every Sunday. He came home for holidays. And when he called me that spring, so excited, telling me he'd met someone special, I was happy for him. I really was. The wedding was small, elegant, expensive. I contributed $20,000 toward it because that's what mothers do. Vanessa's parents paid for most of it. Her father owned a chain of car dealerships in Indiana, but I wanted to help. I wanted to show Bradley I supported his choice, even though something in my gut twisted every time I looked at his bride. After the wedding, they bought a house in Oak Park, a beautiful Victorian that needed work. Bradley asked if I could come stay for a few weeks to help them settle in, and I said yes immediately. I took vacation time from my job, packed my bags, and drove out there with my heart full of hope. I was going to build a relationship with my daughter-in-law. I was going to be helpful, supportive, not overbearing. I was going to be the kind of mother-in-law who made things easier, not harder. I lasted 11 days. Those first days were actually nice. I cooked meals while they were at work, organized their kitchen, helped Vanessa arrange furniture. She seemed grateful, or at least she pretended to be. But I started noticing little things. The way she'd redo whatever I'd done, just slightly differently. The way she'd sigh when I suggested something. The way she and Bradley would exchange these quick glances when I was talking, like they were sharing a private joke at my expense. On the 11th day, I was supposed to stay 2 more nights before heading home. It was a Thursday afternoon. Bradley was still at work, but Vanessa had come home early, something about a migraine. I'd made a pot of soup and was in the guest room, thinking about packing, when I heard her on the phone in the living room. The walls in that old house were thick, but the door to my room was open a crack, and her voice carried. I know, she was saying to someone. It's just 2 more days, thank God. I can't wait for her to leave. I should have closed the door. I should have turned on music or gone outside. But I didn't. I stood there like an idiot and listened. She's driving me insane, Brit. She rearranges everything I do. She's always in the kitchen. She asks me a million questions about Bradley's childhood like I'm supposed to care. And Bradley won't say anything to her because he feels guilty. His dad died and now she's all alone, so we're supposed to just, I don't know, absorb her into our lives forever. My hands went cold. I told Bradley last night that this can't keep happening. Like, she can't just come stay with us whenever she's lonely. We're newlyweds. We need our space. He agreed with me, finally, but then this morning he got all weird about it. Started saying she's his mom and we need to be patient. I heard her laugh. It was a cruel sound. Patient? Brit, I've been patient for almost a year. But honestly, she's dead weight. She's never going to move on from her husband dying. She's never going to build her own life. She's just going to cling to Bradley forever, and I'm not doing that. I'm not spending my marriage taking care of some sad old widow who can't let go. I stopped breathing. And then I heard footsteps. Bradley's footsteps. He'd come home early too. I heard the front door open, heard him call out, "Babe? You home?" "In here," Vanessa said. "Hey, I was just talking to Brittany. Hang on." A pause. "Yeah, I'll call you later. Bye." And then, this is the part that killed me. Bradley walked into the living room, and I heard him say, "How's your head? Still hurting?" "It's okay," Vanessa said. "Better now that you're home. Listen, we need to talk about your mom." My heart stopped. What about her? Bradley's voice was cautious. "Brad, honey, I love you. But this has to stop. The constant visits, the phone calls every Sunday, the guilt trips about how lonely she is. It's too much. She's too much. She's not that bad, Van. She's just trying to help. She's smothering us. And I'm sorry, I really am, but the truth is, your mother is just dead weight. She's not moving forward with her life. She's stuck. And if we don't set boundaries now, we're going to be dealing with this forever. You know I'm right." Silence. "Say something, Bradley. Defend me. Tell her she's wrong. Tell her I'm your mother and I deserve respect." But he didn't. "I know," he said finally, quietly. "You're right. I'll talk to her." That's when I picked up my bag. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't storm into that living room and confront them both. I just walked down that hallway as quietly as I could, slipped out the front door, got into my car, and drove away. My hands shook so hard I could barely grip the steering wheel. Tears came somewhere around the Indiana state line, and I had to pull over at a rest stop because I couldn't see through them. But underneath the tears was something else. Something cold and hard and sharp. Rage. Pure, clarifying rage. I drove all the way back to Pennsylvania in a fugue state, my mind racing. Bradley called 4 times that evening. I didn't answer. Vanessa sent a text around 8. "Hi Mama Dorothy. Did you leave already? Bradley said you weren't feeling well. Hope you're okay." With a little heart emoji. Like she hadn't just called me dead weight an hour before I left. I didn't respond to that either. For 2 days, I sat in my house, the house William and I had filled with memories, with love, with life, and I let myself feel everything. The hurt. The betrayal. The humiliation. And then, slowly, something else crept in. Determination. If I was dead weight, I'd show them exactly how wrong they were. If I was stuck, I'd become unstuck in ways they couldn't imagine. If they wanted boundaries, I'd give them boundaries they'd never forget. I was 60 years old, widowed, dismissed, and disrespected. But I wasn't finished. Not even close. That's when I made the decision that changed everything. I wasn't going to beg for my son's love. I wasn't going to make myself smaller to fit into their perfect little life. I was going to build something of my own. Something bigger. Something undeniable. And one day, they'd stand outside my gates and realize exactly what they'd thrown away. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you how it started. The first thing I did was stop answering Bradley's calls. That sounds simple, doesn't it? Just don't pick up the phone. But when you've spent 33 years being available to your child every single moment they needed you, when you've been the person they called for advice, comfort, celebration, or just to hear your voice, going silent is an act of violence. Against them, yes. But mostly against yourself. My phone rang 11 times that first week. 11 times, Bradley's name and photo lit up my screen. The picture was from his college graduation, him grinning in his cap and gown with his arm around me. God, he looked so young. So happy. So much like William. I let every single call go to voicemail. The messages started out concerned. Mom, hey, it's me. Vanessa said you left kind of suddenly. Are you feeling okay? Call me back. Then confused. Mom, it's been 2 days. I'm starting to worry. Please just let me know you got home safe. Then annoyed. Seriously, this isn't funny anymore. I know you're mad about something. Just talk to me. But I didn't. Because what was I supposed to say? Hi honey, I heard your wife call me dead weight and you agreed with her. No. That would have led to apologies, explanations, promises to do better. Band-aids on a severed artery. I didn't want apologies. I wanted something bigger. I wanted them to feel what I felt. If you're watching this and you've ever cut someone off who deserved it, you know how hard it is at first. You know that ache in your chest, that voice in your head telling you you're being cruel, that you should just forgive and move on. But sometimes forgiveness is just another word for letting people keep hurting you. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is walk away and mean it. If that resonates with you, leave a comment. I'd love to hear your story. And check the description box for more stories like this one, because I promise you, this is only the beginning. On day 8, Vanessa texted me. Dorothy, we're worried about you. Please call us. Whatever's wrong, we can fix it. I deleted it without responding. On day 12, Bradley sent an email. A long one. He said he loved me, that I was important to him, that he didn't understand why I was shutting him out. He said Vanessa was hurt and confused. He asked if he'd done something wrong. I read it 3 times, cried, and then archived it. You have to understand, I wasn't trying to punish them. Not yet, anyway. I was trying to survive. Because every time I thought about that conversation, every time I remembered my son's voice saying you're right when his wife called me dead weight, I felt like I was drowning. I needed distance. I needed space to think. To plan. To become someone new. I went back to work at the law firm on Monday morning. My boss, Gerald Richmond, was a 67-year-old attorney who specialized in estate planning. I'd worked for him for 14 years, and he was one of the few people who'd truly shown me kindness after William died. He noticed immediately that something was wrong. Dorothy, you look like hell, he said when I brought him his coffee. Gerald had never been one for tact. Thank you, Gerald. You always know just what to say. He studied me over his reading glasses. What happened? Family stuff. The son. I nodded. Want to talk about it? No. Fair enough. But if you change your mind, my door's open. And my liquor cabinet. I managed a smile. I'll keep that in mind. But I didn't take him up on it. Instead, I threw myself into work with an intensity that surprised even me. I stayed late every night, organized files that hadn't been touched in years, learned new software programs, took on projects that weren't technically my responsibility. I needed to be busy. I needed to be useful. I needed to feel like I was worth something, since my own son apparently didn't think I was. 3 weeks after I left Chicago, Bradley showed up at my house. I came home from the grocery store on a Saturday afternoon and found him sitting on my front porch steps. My stomach dropped. He looked tired. Worried. He stood when I pulled into the driveway, and I saw him steel himself, like he was preparing for battle. I wanted to run to him. I wanted to hug him and tell him everything was fine and pretend I'd never heard that conversation. But I didn't. I got out of my car slowly, pulled my grocery bags from the trunk, and walked toward him like he was a stranger. "Mom. Bradley. Can we talk? I'm busy. Mom, please. I drove 6 hours to see you." I looked at him. Really looked at him. He had William's eyes. William's jawline. But right now, standing there with his hands shoved in his pockets and guilt written all over his face, he looked like a little boy who'd been caught doing something wrong and couldn't figure out how to fix it. "You should have called first," I said. "You haven't been answering my calls." "There's a reason for that." "What reason? What did I do?" And there it was. The perfect opening. I could have laid it all out right there. I could have told him exactly what I'd heard, exactly how much it hurt, exactly how betrayed I felt. But something stopped me. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was strategy. Maybe it was the realization that explaining my pain to someone who'd caused it was just another form of begging. "You didn't do anything, Bradley," I said quietly. "I'm just busy with my own life. You're married now. You have Vanessa. You don't need me hovering around all the time." His face went pale. "Is this about what Vanessa said? Did she say something to you before you left?" So he knew. Or suspected. What could she have possibly said? I asked, keeping my voice level. "I don't know, that's why I'm asking. She said everything was fine, but you left without saying goodbye, and now you won't talk to me, and I can't figure out what happened." "Nothing happened. I just realized it was time for me to give you two some space. Isn't that what you wanted?" "No. I mean, yes, we need our own space as a couple, but not like this. Not with you cutting me off completely." "I'm not cutting you off. I'm just busy." "Busy with what? Does it matter?" "Yes. You're my mom. Of course it matters." I set my grocery bags down on the porch and looked at him hard. "Bradley, I spent 33 years making sure you knew you mattered to me. Every single day. Every school event, every scraped knee, every broken heart, every triumph. I was there. I showed up. I sacrificed. And now you're married, and your wife needs to be your priority. I get that. So I'm stepping back. That's what you wanted, right? For me to stop being so present." "Mom. Go home, Bradley. Go back to your wife. Live your life. I'll live mine." "You're scaring me." "I'm fine. I promise. I'm just fine." But I wasn't fine. And we both knew it. He stayed for another hour, trying to convince me to talk to him, to tell him what was really wrong. I stayed polite but distant. Eventually, he gave up and left. I watched his car disappear down the street, and then I went inside, locked the door, and let myself break down. But here's the thing about breaking down. Eventually, you have to get back up. And when I did, something had shifted. Something hard and cold and permanent had settled in my chest where warm love used to be. If Bradley wanted space, I'd give him space. If he wanted boundaries, I'd give him boundaries. But I'd also give myself something. A future. That Monday, I walked into Gerald's office and asked him a question that would change everything. "Gerald, do you know any good business attorneys?" He looked up from his desk, surprised. "Why?" "Because I'm starting a company." He blinked. "A company? What kind of company?" "I don't know yet. But I have $400,000 sitting in the bank, I'm 60 years old, and I just realized I've been living half a life since William died. So I'm going to build something. Something big. And I need legal help to do it right." Gerald leaned back in his chair, a slow smile spreading across his face. "Dorothy Whitmore, I've been waiting 3 years for you to say something like that." "Really? Really? You're the most competent person I know. You've been wasting your talents answering phones and scheduling appointments. What took you so long?" "I guess I needed to get mad enough." "Well, whatever lit that fire, I'm here for it. Let me make some calls." And just like that, everything started to change. I spent the next 2 months researching, learning, planning. Gerald introduced me to a business attorney named Rebecca Torres, a sharp woman in her 40s who specialized in helping people start companies from scratch. She asked me what I was good at, what I knew, what I loved. "I'm good at organization," I told her. "I'm good at making systems work. I'm good at seeing what needs to be done and doing it." "That's operational management," she said. What industries do you know? Legal. Estate planning. I've spent 14 years in a law firm. And I don't know. I worked in retail for years before that. I know customer service. I know inventory. I know. I stopped. What? Rebecca asked. I know luxury goods, I said slowly. My daughter-in-law works in luxury brand management. I've been watching her for a year, thinking she was silly for posting pictures of handbags online. But she makes good money doing it. And I know there's a market for high-end estate sale items, jewelry, furniture, art. Things that wealthy people need to liquidate when someone dies. Rebecca's eyes lit up. Keep going. And I did. For 3 hours, we talked about building a company that would specialize in high-end estate liquidation and luxury resale. A business that would help grieving families sort through valuable items, authenticate them, and sell them to collectors and dealers. A business that required taste, discretion, organization, and knowledge, all things I had. By the time I left her office that day, I had a business plan outline and a new sense of purpose. I named the company Whitmore and Associates Estate Services. I hired Rebecca to handle all the legal paperwork. I took every penny of my savings and invested it in inventory, website development, and licensing. I worked 18-hour days, learning everything I could about luxury goods authentication, estate law, and online sales platforms. And I didn't tell Bradley a single thing about it. 4 months after I left his house, Whitmore and Associates had its first client. 6 months in, we'd liquidated 3 major estates and turned a profit. 9 months in, I hired 2 employees and moved out of my home office into a small storefront in downtown Lancaster. And exactly 1 year after Vanessa called me dead weight, I bought a 5-bedroom house on 10 acres of land just outside town. Not because I needed 5 bedrooms. Because I could. Because I wanted Bradley and Vanessa to know, when they finally found out, that dead weight doesn't build empires. The house was a revelation. Not just because it was beautiful, though it was, with its stone facade and wraparound porch and floor-to-ceiling windows that let in rivers of light, but because it was mine. Completely, utterly, undeniably mine. I'd bought it with money I'd earned, through work I'd built from nothing. No husband's life insurance. No inheritance. Just me, Dorothy and Whitmore, 61 years old and finally living. The real estate agent, a chipper woman named Patricia, nearly fainted when I made an all-cash offer. Mrs. Whitmore, are you sure? I mean, this is a very significant purchase. Don't you want to have your family look at it first? Your son, maybe. My son, I said coolly, doesn't get a vote in my life anymore. Patricia's smile faltered. Oh. Well. Okay then. I signed the papers on a Tuesday afternoon in March, 2 days before my 61st birthday. The house cost me $375,000. I had it. I'd made it. My business had grown beyond anything I'd imagined in those first desperate months after I walked away from Bradley's house. We were now handling estate liquidations for some of the wealthiest families in Pennsylvania, Maryland, and New Jersey. I had 4 employees, a warehouse, relationships with auction houses in New York and Philadelphia, and a reputation for discretion and excellence that money couldn't buy. People trusted me with their dead parents' treasures. With their divorces. With their secrets hidden in antique jewelry boxes and paintings worth more than cars. And I was good at it. Better than good. I was exceptional. But the house was different. The house was personal. I had it renovated top to bottom. Custom kitchen with Italian marble countertops. Main suite with a bathroom bigger than my old living room. Library with built-in shelves that stretched 12 feet high. Guest rooms decorated like they belonged in a magazine. And around it all, I had a fence installed. Not just any fence, an 8-foot wrought iron beauty with stone pillars and an electric gate that required a code to enter. Patricia asked why I needed such security. Privacy, I told her. But that wasn't quite it. Control. That was the real answer. I'd spent most of my adult life being accessible. Available. The door was always open, the phone always answered, the welcome always warm. And where had it gotten me? To a hallway, listening to my son agree that I was dead weight. Never again. I moved into the house in May. Gerald threw me a housewarming party that I didn't want, but when 40 people showed up, colleagues, clients, new friends I'd made through business, I realized something stunning. I had a life now. A real life that didn't revolve around Bradley, didn't require his approval or presence. People liked me for me, respected me for what I'd built, wanted to be around me because I was interesting, successful, valuable. The irony wasn't lost on me. I still hadn't spoken to Bradley in over a year. He'd stopped calling after that visit to my porch. I'd received a few emails, birthday wishes, Christmas messages, the occasional "Mom, please talk to me," but I'd ignored them all. It hurt. God, it hurt like a physical wound. But the alternative hurt worse, going back to being the pathetic widow who clung to her son because she had nothing else. If you've ever had to choose between loneliness and self-respect, you know it's the hardest choice there is. But you also know which one you have to pick if you want to survive. Drop a comment if you understand that feeling. And if you're binge-watching these stories, check the description box, there's more where this came from. What Bradley didn't know, what nobody knew except Rebecca and my accountant, was that I was already planning my next move. The estate liquidation business was profitable, but it wasn't scalable. I needed something bigger. Something that could generate real wealth, not just comfortable income. So I started buying properties. It started almost by accident. One of my estate clients was an elderly woman whose children lived overseas and wanted nothing to do with her house in Harrisburg. It was a beautiful Victorian, well-maintained, in a good neighborhood. They were going to sell it to a flipper for pennies on the dollar just to be done with it. I made them an offer instead. Fixed it up using profits from the business. Rented it out to a young professional couple for more than twice the mortgage. Within 6 months, I'd bought 3 more properties the same way. Within a year, I owned 7 rental units across 3 counties. My accountant, a man named Howard Howard Patterson, looked at my portfolio and whistled. "Dorothy, you're building an empire here." That's the idea. Most people don't do this at your age. Most people aren't me. He laughed. Fair enough. But you need to be strategic. Property management is time-intensive. Have you thought about hiring someone to handle the day-to-day? I had. I hired a management company to deal with tenants, maintenance, and rent collection. I hired an additional person at Whitmore and Associates to handle operations so I could focus on acquisition and growth. I attended networking events, joined the Chamber of Commerce, got involved in local historical preservation societies where wealthy people gathered. And slowly, steadily, I transformed from Dorothy the widow to Dorothy the businesswoman. Dorothy the investor. Dorothy the woman who showed up at galas in designer clothes and wrote checks to charities and got invited to serve on non-profit boards. People started calling me Mrs. Whitmore with a different tone. Respectful. Sometimes even slightly envious. I loved it. 2 years after I left Chicago, my net worth crossed $1.5 million. The house was paid off. The business was thriving. The rental portfolio was expanding. I had financial advisors, attorneys, accountants. I had staff. I had power. And still, radio silence from Bradley. Part of me wondered if he'd given up entirely. If he'd decided his mother was crazy or bitter or not worth the effort. But another part of me, the part that knew him, that had raised him, that understood how his mind worked, suspected he was waiting. Waiting for me to break first. To reach out. To apologize for whatever slight he'd convinced himself I'd imagined. He could wait forever. It was early October, just after my 62nd birthday, when everything changed. I was at my desk in the warehouse. Yes, I'd upgraded to a proper warehouse facility by then, reviewing authentication paperwork for a collection of vintage Cartier pieces when my phone rang. Unknown number, but local area code. I answered. "Whitmore and Associates, this is Dorothy." "Mrs. Whitmore? This is Ellen Pritchard. I'm the executive director of the Lancaster Women's Business Alliance. I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time." "Not at all. How can I help you?" "Well, actually, I'm calling because we'd like your help. We're hosting our annual fundraising gala next month, and we're looking for sponsors and speakers. Your name came up repeatedly in our planning committee meetings as someone who embodies everything we're trying to celebrate. Women who've built successful businesses against the odds, who've turned personal challenges into professional triumphs. Would you be interested in speaking at the event? And possibly serving as a sponsor?" My heart started pounding. I'd be honored. Wonderful. The sponsorship levels start at $5,000, but you can. "I'll do $25,000, I said. Silence on the other end. Then, That's incredibly generous, Mrs. Whitmore. Call me Dorothy. And it's not just generosity. It's strategy. I assume my company will be recognized at the event. Of course. As a platinum sponsor, your company will be featured prominently in all our materials, and you'll have the opportunity to speak for 15 minutes during the program. Perfect. Send me the details, and let's set up a meeting to discuss messaging. When I hung up, I sat back in my chair and smiled. A real smile. The kind that comes from deep satisfaction. This was it. This was the moment when Dorothy Whitmore stopped being a woman who'd left her son's house in tears and became a woman people wanted on their stage. The gala was black tie. I bought a dress that cost more than I used to spend on groceries in a month, a midnight blue gown with delicate beading that caught the light when I moved. I had my hair done professionally. Wore the diamond earrings William had given me for our 30th anniversary. When I walked into that ballroom at the Lancaster Marriott, heads turned. I'd invited Gerald and his wife, Rebecca Torres, and her husband, my employees, several of my clients. They sat at my sponsored table, and throughout the evening, people kept approaching me, congratulating me, asking about my business, requesting my card. When it was my turn to speak, I walked to that podium with my head high and my heart steady. Good evening, I said, looking out at 200 faces. My name is Dorothy Whitmore, and 3 years ago, I was a widow with a modest savings account and no idea what to do with the rest of my life. I told them about William's death, about feeling lost, about realizing that I had a choice. I could shrink into grief and dependency, or I could build something meaningful. I talked about starting Whitmore and Associates, about the challenges of launching a business at 60, about the properties I'd acquired and the life I'd created. What I didn't mention was Bradley, or Vanessa, or the real reason I'd built all of this. But I thought about them the entire time I spoke. I thought about how I'd stood in that hallway, broken and dismissed. I thought about how far I'd come since then. And I thought about how, one day, they'd know. They'd find out what I'd become. And they'd realize exactly what they'd lost. The speech got a standing ovation. Afterward, at least 30 people gave me their cards. 3 women asked if I mentored. 5 people wanted to discuss business opportunities. A reporter from the local paper asked for an interview. I said yes to all of it. Because that's what empires are built on: visibility, connection, reputation. But also because I knew, with absolute certainty, that word would eventually reach Chicago. 6 weeks later, it did. The call came on a Tuesday evening in late November. I was home alone, which was most evenings by then, sitting in my library with a glass of wine and a book about French antiques. The fire was crackling in the fireplace. Outside, the first snow of the season was starting to fall, dusting my 10 acres in white. My phone buzzed. Bradley. I stared at his name on the screen for a long moment. 2 years. We hadn't spoken in 2 years. Not since that awkward confrontation on my old porch, back when I was still living small. My first instinct was to decline the call like I'd done dozens of times before. But something stopped me. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the wine. Maybe it was the fact that I'd spent 2 years becoming someone new, someone strong, and I wanted him to hear that in my voice. I answered. Hello, Bradley. Silence. Then, Mom? Oh my God, you actually answered. I did. I can't believe. I've been trying to reach you for 2 years. I know. Why now? Why did you answer now? I don't know. Maybe I was in the mood for conversation. How are you? The question clearly caught him off guard. How am I? Mom, I've been worried sick about you. You disappeared. You stopped answering calls. I came to your house and you barely talked to me. I didn't know if you were okay, if you were angry, if... I'm fine, Bradley. Better than fine, actually. That's good. That's really good. Where are you? Are you still in Lancaster? I am. Same house? No. I moved. You moved? When? Where? About 1.5 years ago. I bought a place outside town. You bought a place? How did you? I mean, that must have been expensive. Did you use Dad's insurance money? Some of it. But mostly I used money from my business. Another pause. Longer this time. Your business? Yes. I started a company about 2 years ago. Estate liquidation and luxury resale. It's been very successful. You started a company. His voice was full of disbelief. Not malicious, exactly, but shocked. Like I'd told him I'd taken up skydiving or joined a rock band. Mom, that's amazing. Why didn't you tell me? You never asked. The words came out sharper than I'd intended, and I heard him flinch through the phone. That's not fair. I tried to talk to you. You shut me out. Did I? Or did I just stop making myself available every moment of every day? There's a difference, Bradley. Mom, what is going on? Why are you talking to me like this? What did I do? And there it was. The perfect opening. 2 years of silence, and he still didn't know. Or maybe he did know, deep down, and was hoping I'd forgotten. You really don't know? I asked quietly. No. That's why I've been calling you for 2 years. That's why I showed up at your house. That's why I've sent you emails and texts and birthday cards. Because I have no idea what happened, and you won't tell me. I took a sip of wine. Let the silence stretch. When I spoke again, my voice was calm. Almost conversational. Your mother is just dead weight. The silence that followed was absolute. I could hear him breathing, fast and shallow. What? He whispered. That's what Vanessa said. That day I left your house. I heard her on the phone in the living room, telling her friend that I was dead weight. That I was never going to move on from your father's death. That I was going to cling to you forever, and she wasn't doing that. Mom. And then you came home. And she told you I was too much. That I was smothering you. That I was dead weight. And you know what you said, Bradley? He said nothing. You said, you're right. You agreed with her. You stood there in your living room and agreed that your mother, the woman who gave birth to you, raised you, sacrificed everything for you, was dead weight. Jesus Christ. His voice broke. You heard that? You were there. I was in the hallway. I heard every word. And then I picked up my bag and left. Because what was I supposed to do? Walk in and beg you to love me? Beg you to defend me? No, thank you. Mom, I'm so sorry. God, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it the way it sounded. Vanessa was upset and I was just trying to. Trying to what? Keep the peace. Make your wife happy. I understand that, Bradley. I really do. Your wife should be your priority. But you threw me away to do it. You let her call me dead weight and you agreed with her, and in that moment, I realized something important. What? That I had been dead weight. Not because of grief or loneliness, but because I'd made my entire identity about being your mother. About being available to you. About serving you. And when you didn't need me anymore, I had nothing left. So Vanessa was right, in a way. I was stuck. You weren't stuck. You were grieving. I was both. But I'm not stuck anymore, Bradley. I haven't been for a while now. Because of this business? Mom, that's great, it really is, but you didn't have to cut me out of your life completely just to. Yes, I did. The certainty in my voice stopped him cold. I had to, I continued. Because if I'd stayed in contact with you, I would have forgiven you too easily. I would have made excuses for you. I would have shrunk myself back down to make you comfortable. And I couldn't do that. Not anymore. So I walked away. And I built a life. A real life. One that doesn't revolve around you. That's not fair. I never asked you to revolve around me. You didn't have to ask. I chose it. And then you chose it. That's how life works, Bradley. He was quiet for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice was thick with tears. I miss you, Mom. My chest tightened. God, those words. I'd waited 2 years to hear them, and now that I had, they hurt worse than the silence. I miss you too, I admitted. But missing someone isn't enough to rebuild trust. Then what is? What do I have to do? I don't know if there's anything you can do. Maybe this is just how it is now. No. I don't accept that. You're my mom. You're the only parent I have left. I can't lose you. You didn't lose me, Bradley. You threw me away. There's a difference. He made a sound that might have been a sob. How do I fix this? I don't know that you can. Mom, please. I need to go. It's late. Wait, can I call you again? Can we talk more? I want to understand. I want to make this right. I hesitated. Part of me wanted to say no, to hang up and go back to my safe distance. But another part, the part that still loved him desperately despite everything, couldn't quite close that door completely. You can call, I said finally. I can't promise I'll answer every time. But you can try. Okay. Okay, thank you. Mom. Yes. I love you. I know I screwed up, but I love you. I've always loved you. My eyes burned. I know you do, Bradley. That was never the question. Then what was? Whether love is enough when respect is gone. I hung up before he could respond. For a long time, I sat there in my library, watching the snow fall outside my floor-to-ceiling windows, feeling the weight of that conversation settle into my bones. I'd wanted to hurt him. I'll admit that. I'd wanted him to feel a fraction of what I'd felt standing in that hallway 2 years ago. But I hadn't expected it to hurt me too. The next morning, I woke to a text from Bradley. I told Vanessa what you heard. We're going to couples counseling. She wants to apologize to you. Can she call you? I deleted it without responding. 3 days later, flowers arrived at my office. 2 dozen white roses with a card. Mrs. Whitmore, I am deeply sorry for the pain I caused you. I was thoughtless and cruel, and I hope you can forgive me. Vanessa. I threw them in the trash. A week after that, Bradley called again. This time I didn't answer. But he kept trying. Once a week, like clockwork. Sometimes he'd leave voicemails. Sometimes he wouldn't. The messages were always the same. He was sorry, he missed me, he wanted to make things right, please talk to him. I listened to every one. But I never called back. Because here's what Bradley didn't understand. I didn't need his apology to heal. I'd already healed. I'd built something bigger than his opinion of me. I'd created a life that mattered, that had value, that would outlast whatever fragile peace he was trying to make with his conscience. His apology was for him, not for me. And I wasn't interested in making him feel better. Christmas came and went. My first Christmas in the new house. I hosted a dinner party for 20 people, business associates, friends I'd made through my various boards and committees, neighbors from my new exclusive community. We drank expensive wine, ate catered food, laughed until late into the night. Bradley sent a gift. A photo album filled with pictures from his childhood. Every important moment we'd shared. His first day of school. Halloween costumes I'd made by hand. The time we went to Disney World when he was 8. His high school graduation. His wedding. The note inside said, I'm sorry I forgot how much you've given me. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of it. I cried when I read it. Put the album on a shelf in my library. But I didn't call him. January brought a new year and new opportunities. My business was expanding into Delaware and Ohio. The rental properties were performing better than projected. I was invited to speak at 3 more events. I joined the board of a regional arts foundation. And then, in late February, I got a call from Patricia, the real estate agent who'd sold me my house. Dorothy. How are you, darling? I'm well, Patricia. How can I help you? Well, actually, I have something rather interesting to tell you. You know that property adjacent to yours? The 12 acres on the east side. My heart skipped. I knew it well. Beautiful land with a historic farmhouse that had been abandoned for years. What about it? It just went on the market. The owner passed away, and the family wants to sell quickly. I thought of you immediately. How much? They're asking $400,000, but honestly, I think you could get it for $350. It needs work, but the bones are good. And it would give you 22 acres total. You could make an offer. $375,000, all cash, quick close. Patricia laughed. I love the way you do business, Dorothy. I'll draw up the paperwork today. 2 weeks later, the property was mine. I hired contractors to restore the farmhouse. Planned to turn it into a guest house or maybe a vacation rental. Extended my fence to encompass all 22 acres. Installed new gates with cameras and an intercom system. I was building my kingdom. Brick by brick. Dollar by dollar. And then, in early April, 3 years almost to the day after I'd walked out of Bradley's house, everything changed. I was at the office when my property manager called. "Mrs. Whitmore, I'm sorry to bother you, but there's a situation at your house." "What kind of situation?" "There are people at your gate. A man and a woman. They've been there for about 20 minutes. They're asking to see you. The man says he's your son." My blood went cold. "Is he alone?" "No, he's with a woman. Blonde, late 20s. She looks upset. They're both upset, actually." "Bradley and Vanessa. At my gate." "Tell them I'm not available," I said. "I tried. They said they'll wait. Mrs. Whitmore, the woman is crying." "Good," I thought viciously. "Let her cry." But out loud I said, "I'll be there in 30 minutes. I drove home with my heart pounding. This was it. The confrontation I'd been both dreading and anticipating for 3 years. They'd found out where I lived. How? Probably that newspaper article. Or maybe someone at the gala had mentioned my name to someone who knew them. It didn't matter. They were here. When I pulled up to my gate, I saw them through the bars. Bradley looked older. Tired. He'd put on weight, and there were lines around his eyes that hadn't been there before. Vanessa looked small next to him. She'd cut her hair short, and without the professional styling, she looked younger. More vulnerable. They saw my car and both stepped forward. I pressed the intercom button from inside my vehicle. "Yes." Bradley's voice came through, strained and desperate. "Mom, please. Can we talk?" "About what?" "About everything. About what happened. About us." I looked at them through my windshield. Saw the way Vanessa was gripping Bradley's arm. Saw the desperation in both their faces. And I felt nothing. No anger. No satisfaction. Just emptiness. "No," I said simply. "Mom, please. Just 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking." "You had 33 years, Bradley. You don't get to show up at my home unannounced and demand 5 minutes." "I'm not demanding. I'm begging." "Then beg better. Because right now, I'm not interested." Vanessa spoke then, her voice high and breaking. "Mrs. Whitmore, please. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know what I said was unforgivable. But please, just listen. There's something you need to know. Something important. Whatever it is, you can email it to me. It's not something I can put in an email." Her voice cracked completely. "Please. Your son needs you." "My son had me. He didn't want me." "He does now. Mrs. Whitmore, please." I pressed the button to open the gate. Not because I'd forgiven them. Not because I wanted to hear whatever drama they'd brought to my doorstep. But because I wanted them to see what they'd lost. They followed my car up the long driveway in their rental sedan, some economy model that looked absurdly out of place against the backdrop of my estate. I parked in front of the house and watched in my rearview mirror as they got out, their heads swiveling to take it all in. The restored stone facade. The professional landscaping. The fountain I'd had installed in the circular drive. The sheer size of it all. I saw Vanessa's hand fly to her mouth. Saw Bradley go pale. Good. I got out of my car slowly, deliberately, giving them time to absorb exactly how far I'd come since they'd dismissed me as dead weight. I was wearing a tailored pantsuit from Nordstrom, my hair professionally styled, carrying a leather briefcase that cost more than their car rental. I looked successful. I looked powerful. I looked like someone who didn't need them at all. "Mrs. Whitmore," Vanessa breathed. This is your house." "It is. It's beautiful. It's absolutely." "Save it," I said flatly. "You're not here to admire my real estate. Come inside. We'll talk in my study." I led them through the front door, through my marble-floored foyer with its crystal chandelier, past my formal living room with its antique furniture and original artwork. I felt their eyes on everything, measuring, calculating. I didn't offer them water or coffee. I didn't offer them anything. My study was at the back of the house, overlooking the gardens. I gestured to 2 chairs across from my desk and took my own seat, placing my briefcase deliberately between us like a barrier. "You have 5 minutes," I said. "Talk." Bradley opened his mouth, but Vanessa spoke first. "I'm pregnant." The words hung in the air like smoke. I felt something twist in my chest, something I didn't want to feel. Hope, joy, terror. But I kept my face neutral. Congratulations. That's it. Bradley said, his voice cracking. That's all you have to say. What would you like me to say? That you're happy. That you're excited. Mom, you're going to be a grandmother. I see. And you came all this way to tell me this because... Vanessa and Bradley exchanged a glance. There was something in it, something fearful. Because we need you, Bradley said finally. We're having problems, and we need your help. What kind of problems? Another glance. Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. Financial problems, she whispered. I leaned back in my chair. I'm listening. And so they told me. The whole ugly story spilled out between them, overlapping and interrupting each other, both of them desperate to make me understand. Bradley's company had downsized. He'd been let go 6 months ago. He'd found another job, but it paid 30% less. Vanessa's influencer career had tanked when Instagram changed its algorithm. She was making almost nothing now. They'd been living beyond their means for years, expensive rent, car payments, the lifestyle they'd needed to maintain to keep up appearances. They had $70,000 in credit card debt. They'd taken out a loan against the house I'd helped them buy, and now they were underwater on it. They'd maxed out everything. Borrowed from friends. Borrowed from Vanessa's parents, who'd finally cut them off. And now Vanessa was pregnant, and they had no health insurance because Bradley's new job had a waiting period, and they were drowning. We're going to lose the house, Bradley said, his voice hollow. We're going to lose everything. I looked at them both. Really looked at them. Saw the dark circles under Bradley's eyes. The way Vanessa's hands shook in her lap. The desperation rolling off them in waves. And I felt nothing. No sympathy. No urge to rescue them. Just cold, clear assessment. So you came here, I said slowly, to ask me for money. Not just money, Bradley said quickly. We came to apologize. To try to rebuild our relationship. You came for money, I repeated. Everything else is window dressing. That's not fair. Isn't it? Bradley, you haven't spoken to me in 3 years except for a few guilt-driven phone calls after I confronted you about what Vanessa said. You ignored me for months before that. You literally agreed with your wife when she called me dead weight. And now you're here, in my home, asking me to bail you out of the consequences of your own poor choices. I know how it looks. Do you? Do you really? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you dismissed me when you didn't need me, and now you're here with your hand out. Vanessa spoke then, her voice barely above a whisper. You're right. You're absolutely right. We don't deserve your help. I don't deserve your help. What I said about you was cruel and ignorant and wrong. I was young and stupid and selfish, and I didn't understand what you'd sacrificed for Bradley. I didn't understand anything. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She was crying now, really crying. Not delicate tears for show, but ugly, desperate sobs. I destroyed my marriage trying to cut you out, she continued. I thought I was protecting us, protecting our space. But all I did was hurt the man I love and deprive him of his mother. Bradley has been devastated without you. He tries to hide it, but I see it. I see how much he misses you. How much he regrets what happened. And it's my fault. All of it. Vanessa, Bradley said softly, putting a hand on her shoulder. No, it's true. Mrs. Whitmore, I called you dead weight because I was jealous. Jealous of how much Bradley loved you. Jealous of your bond. I thought I needed to make him choose between us, and when he didn't stand up for you, I thought I'd won. But I hadn't won anything. I just destroyed something beautiful. And now we're here, and we're broken, and I know we don't deserve your forgiveness or your help. But we're asking anyway. Because I'm pregnant with your grandchild, and I don't know what else to do. The study went silent except for her crying. I looked at Bradley. He wasn't crying, but his eyes were red. He looked like a man who'd aged 10 years in 3. How much do you need? I asked. Hope flashed across both their faces. $70,000 to clear the credit cards, Bradley said quickly. And maybe another 30 to catch up on the house payments and cover medical expenses. We'd pay you back, of course. With interest. Whatever terms you. $100,000. Yes. I know it's a lot, but $100,000, and you think that fixes everything? They both stopped, looked at each other, looked back at me. Mom, we're not trying to fix everything with money. We're trying to survive. And we're hoping that helping us will give us the chance to rebuild our relationship. To let you be part of your grandchild's life. To use the baby as leverage, I finished. No. God, no, Mom. That's not. Yes, it is. You're here telling me I'm going to be a grandmother, that you need me, that you want me in your lives. But 3 years ago, you didn't want me anywhere near your life. You wanted boundaries. Remember? You wanted space. You wanted me to stop being so present. Well, congratulations. You got what you wanted. I was wrong. Bradley shouted, standing up. I was wrong, okay? I failed you. I should have defended you. I should have told Vanessa that what she said was unacceptable. I should have called you every single day until you answered. I should have fought for you. But I didn't, and I've regretted it every single day since. Every single day. His voice broke on the last words. Do you know what it's been like? He continued. Knowing I hurt the one person who's always loved me unconditionally. Knowing I threw away my mother because I was too weak to stand up to my wife. Do you know how many times I've picked up the phone to call you and then put it down because I was too ashamed? Too scared you'd never forgive me? Then why didn't you try harder? I asked, my voice rising to match his. Why didn't you show up here a year ago? 2 years ago? Why didn't you fight for me, Bradley? Because I was afraid. Because I thought you hated me. Because every time I tried to reach you, you shut me down, and I didn't know how to fix it. So you gave up. No. I never gave up. I didn't know what to do. And then the financial problems started, and everything fell apart, and I realized how much I'd lost. Not just you, but the chance to give my child what you gave me. A mother who's present. Who's loving. Who's strong. And I thought maybe if I came here, maybe if I saw you face to face, maybe you'd see how sorry I am. How much I need you. You don't need me. You need my money. That's not true. Then leave. Right now. Walk out of here without asking for a dime, and prove that you came here to rebuild our relationship and nothing else. Silence. Neither of them moved. And that told me everything I needed to know. I stood up, walked to the window, looked out at my gardens. Behind me, I heard Vanessa crying again. Heard Bradley sink back into his chair. I'll give you the money, I said quietly. Mom. Under one condition. Anything. I turned to face them. You sign a contract agreeing that I have no obligation to you beyond this one payment. No expectations of future help. No guilt trips. No using the baby to manipulate me. You take this money, fix your problems, and leave me alone. Permanently. Bradley's face crumbled. You don't mean that. I absolutely mean it. You want my money? Fine. But you don't get my love, my time, or my forgiveness with it. Those things aren't for sale. But the baby. The baby has 2 parents. That's more than enough. Mom, please. Don't do this. Don't cut us out of your life because of one mistake. One mistake. I laughed, and it sounded bitter even to my own ears. Bradley, this wasn't one mistake. This was a pattern. You chose Vanessa over me again and again. You agreed when she called me dead weight. You let months pass without fighting for our relationship. And now you're here because you're desperate, not because you love me. I do love you. Maybe, but not enough. I walked back to my desk, pulled out my checkbook, wrote out a check for $100,000, held it up so they could see it. Take this, sign the contract, and go. Or refuse it and try to rebuild our relationship without using money as a starting point. Your choice. Bradley stared at the check. I saw the war playing out on his face. Pride versus need. Love versus desperation. Vanessa put her hand on his arm. Bradley, we need this. We can't lose the house. Not with the baby coming. But Mom. We can try to fix things with her later. But right now, we need help. And there it was. The truth that had been lurking underneath all the apologies and tears. They needed money more than they needed me. Bradley took the check. I'll have my attorney draw up the contract and send it to you, I said, my voice flat. Sign it and return it within a week, and the check will clear. Take longer than that, and I'll stop payment. Mom. Get out of my house. Please, just listen. Get out. They left. I watched from my study window as they walked back to their pathetic rental car, got in, and drove away. Watched as the gate closed behind them, locking them out of my kingdom. And then I sat down at my desk and finally let myself cry. Not for them. For me. For the relationship I'd wanted with my son. For the grandmother I'd hoped to be. For the family I'd lost 3 years ago and hadn't gotten back. But even through the tears, I knew I'd done the right thing. Because letting them back into my life on their terms would have destroyed me. And I'd worked too hard to become someone worthy of respect to let them turn me back into someone who'd accept crumbs. They signed the contract. Of course they did. Rebecca delivered it to me personally, her face carefully neutral as she placed the documents on my desk. They signed without any modifications, she said. Both of them. Notarized and everything. I flipped through the pages. There it was in black and white. Dorothy and Whitmore agrees to provide one-time financial assistance in the amount of $100,000 to Bradley William Whitmore and Vanessa Lee Whitmore. In exchange, Bradley and Vanessa acknowledge they have no claim to further financial support and agree to respect Dorothy's boundaries regarding future contact. It was cold. Clinical. Everything a relationship between a mother and son should never be. But it protected me. And that's what mattered now. They included a letter, Rebecca said, pulling an envelope from her bag. I told them I'd pass it along, but you're under no obligation to read it. I took it. Didn't open it. Just set it on my desk next to the contract. Thank you, Rebecca. Dorothy, are you okay? I'm fine. She looked at me with those sharp attorney eyes. No, you're not. You just legally severed ties with your only child. I didn't sever anything. I set boundaries. Those boundaries have prison bars. Good. Maybe they'll keep me safe. She sighed. I'm not judging you. You know that, right? After what they did, what they said, how they treated you, you have every right to protect yourself. But nothing. I just want to make sure you're not going to regret this in 5 years. Or 10. Or 20. I looked at the contract again. At my son's signature, strong and clear. At Vanessa's, more delicate. I might regret it, I admitted. But I'll regret letting them hurt me again even more. Rebecca nodded. Then you made the right choice. After she left, I sat alone with that envelope. The letter inside felt heavy. Weighted with words I probably didn't want to read. But curiosity got the better of me, the way it always does. I opened it. The handwriting was Bradley's. Asterisk I signed your contract because I didn't have a choice. We need the money or we lose everything. But I need you to know that I hate every word in this agreement. I hate that it's come to this. I hate that 3 years ago I made the biggest mistake of my life and I don't know how to fix it. Asterisk. Asterisk you were right about everything. I chose Vanessa over you. I let her say horrible things and I agreed with her because I was a coward. I was so focused on being a good husband that I forgot how to be a good son. And then when you pulled away, instead of fighting harder, I gave up. I told myself you'd come around eventually. That time would fix things. Asterisk. Asterisk but time doesn't fix anything, does it? It just creates distance. Asterisk. Asterisk I know you think we only came to you for money. Maybe that's partly true. But Mom, you have to believe me when I say I came there hoping to find my mother again. The woman who used to make me chocolate chip pancakes on Saturday mornings. Who stayed up until 2 a.m. helping me with science projects. Who drove 6 hours in a snowstorm to bring me soup when I had the flu in college. Who danced with me at my wedding even though I know you didn't really like my bride. Asterisk. Asterisk I miss her. I miss you. Not the money or the help or any of that. Just, you. Asterisk. Asterisk Vanessa is reading this over my shoulder and she's crying. She wants you to know that she understands now what she destroyed. She's in therapy. We both are. She's trying to be better. To be someone worthy of your son. But she knows she can never undo what she said. Asterisk. Asterisk I don't blame you for the contract. I don't blame you for protecting yourself. I just hope that someday, maybe when your grandchild is born, you'll let us try again. Not for money. Not for help. Just for family. Asterisk I love you, Mom. I've always loved you. And I'm sorry I didn't show it when it mattered most. Asterisk Bradley asterisk. I read it 3 times. Cried through all 3 readings. And then I put it in a drawer and went back to work. Because love without respect is just manipulation with better packaging. The months that followed were strange. I'd expected to feel relieved after setting those boundaries. Free. Instead, I felt hollow. Like I'd won a battle but lost the war. My business continued to thrive. I hired 3 more employees. Opened a second location in Philadelphia. Acquired 4 more rental properties. My net worth crossed $2 million. I was invited to serve on 2 more boards. Featured in a regional business magazine as one of Pennsylvania's most influential women over 50. On paper, I was wildly successful. In my heart, I was a mother who'd chosen pride over relationship. And I wasn't sure which was worse, that I'd made that choice, or that I couldn't regret it. I didn't hear from Bradley again after the contract was signed. True to his word, or to the legal agreement, he left me alone. No calls. No texts. No emails. The silence should have been what I wanted. It ate me alive instead. Gerald noticed. Of course he did. We were having lunch at an upscale bistro downtown when he finally called me out. "You're miserable," he said, cutting through my description of a recent estate acquisition. "I'm fine. Dorothy, I've known you for 16 years. You're not fine. You're successful, you're wealthy, you're accomplished. And you're absolutely miserable." "I'm not. Your son came to you and you sent him away with a check and a legal contract. You're a grandmother, and you've never even asked when the baby is due. You've built this incredible life, and you're not enjoying any of it because you're too busy being right." The words hit like a slap. I am right. They used me. Maybe. Or maybe they're desperate kids who made mistakes and are trying to survive. Dorothy, I'm not saying what they did was okay. But I am saying that righteousness is a cold companion. Trust me. I've been divorced 3 times. I know all about choosing to be right over choosing to be happy. This is different. Is it? I didn't answer. That night, I opened my laptop and did something I'd been avoiding for 3 years. I looked up Bradley and Vanessa on social media. Their accounts were mostly private now, but I could see a few things. Profile pictures. Post counts. Vanessa's had dropped off dramatically. Her influencer career really had tanked. Bradley's showed him looking tired but smiling in a few photos. And then I saw it. A public post from 2 weeks ago. A photo of Vanessa's growing belly. The caption read, "Baby girl arriving in September. We can't wait to meet you, little one. You're already so loved." A girl. I was going to have a granddaughter. And I'd signed away my right to know her. I closed the laptop and sat in my study for hours, staring at nothing. Outside, summer was turning the gardens into something glorious. Birds sang. The sun set in shades of gold and rose. My kingdom was beautiful. And I was alone in it. Around midnight, I pulled out Bradley's letter and read it again. Asterisk I just hope that someday, maybe when your grandchild is born, you'll let us try again. Asterisk. September. That was 3 months away. 3 months to decide if I was going to spend the rest of my life being right but alone, or if I was going to risk being hurt again for a chance at family. If you've ever had to choose between protecting yourself and loving someone who's hurt you, you know it's an impossible decision. There's no right answer. Just different kinds of loss. Comment below and tell me what you would do. I genuinely want to know. And if you're invested in this story, check the description for more like it. 2 weeks later, I got a call from Patricia, my real estate agent. "Dorothy. Great news. I have a couple who's very interested in your farmhouse property. They're willing to pay asking price if you're ready to sell." I'd forgotten about the farmhouse. The guest house project had stalled when contractors ran into issues with the foundation. I'd planned to finish it eventually, but it had fallen down my priority list. Who are the buyers? A young couple relocating from Chicago. He works remotely, she's pregnant and wants space to raise their child. They saw the property and fell in love with the land. They mentioned something about wanting to be near family. I'm not sure what they meant by that. My blood went cold. What are their names? Bradley and Vanessa Whitmore. Wait, Whitmore? Is that? I hung up. My hands were shaking. I stood up, paced my office, tried to process what I'd just heard. They were trying to buy the property next to mine. The property I owned. They were trying to move here. To Lancaster. To be near me. But how did they even know about it? How did they? The magazine article. The one that mentioned my estate, my business, my success. It had included photos of my property, professional shots of the house, the grounds. And in the background of one photo, barely visible, was the abandoned farmhouse on the adjacent land. They'd figured it out. Somehow, they'd tracked down that property and made an offer. But they couldn't buy it because I already owned it. I sat back down, my mind racing. This changed everything. They weren't respecting my boundaries, they were trying to force proximity. Or were they? Maybe they genuinely wanted to be closer to me, to rebuild the relationship they'd destroyed. Or maybe they'd run through the $100,000 and were already planning their next move. I called Rebecca immediately. They're trying to buy property next to mine. What? Who? Bradley and Vanessa. The farmhouse I bought. They made an offer through a real estate agent. They don't know I own it yet. Rebecca was quiet for a moment. Do you want me to have my office send them a cease and desist? Can you even do that? It's not like they're harassing me. They're just trying to buy property. Property that happens to be adjacent to yours. That feels intentional. It is intentional. But is it malicious or desperate? Does it matter? I thought about that. Did it matter? They'd signed a contract promising to respect my boundaries, and here they were, trying to become my neighbors. That was either a massive boundary violation or a grand romantic gesture, depending on how you looked at it. I need to think, I said finally. Dorothy, whatever you decide, I'm here. But be careful. You've built something beautiful, and you can't let them destroy it. After I hung up, I drove out to the farmhouse. I hadn't been there in months. Contractors had abandoned the project when I'd stopped returning their calls, too distracted by Bradley's visit and its aftermath. The place was a mess. Half-renovated rooms with exposed wiring. A kitchen with cabinets hanging off their hinges. Holes in the floor where they'd been checking the foundation. But through the grime and chaos, I could see what it could be. A beautiful family home. Perfect for a young couple with a baby on the way. I stood in what would have been the living room and imagined them here. Bradley fixing things, the way William used to. Vanessa decorating, making it cozy. A nursery upstairs, painted soft yellow or mint green. A baby girl learning to walk on these wooden floors. My granddaughter. Growing up a quarter-mile away from me. Close enough to visit. Close enough for holidays and birthdays and spontaneous Sunday dinners. Close enough to rebuild what we'd lost. Or close enough for them to manipulate me. To use the baby as leverage whenever they needed something. To trap me in a cycle of guilt and obligation that I'd worked so hard to escape. I walked through every room, weighing possibilities. Then I pulled out my phone and made a call. 3 days later, Bradley and Vanessa received a letter from my attorney. It informed them that the property they'd attempted to purchase was already owned by Dorothy and Whitmore, and was not available for sale at any price. It reminded them of their contractual obligation to respect boundaries. And it included a formal request that they cease all attempts to relocate to Lancaster County. I didn't write the letter myself. Couldn't bring myself to put those words on paper. But I approved every line. Patricia called me the next day. Dorothy, the Whitmore couple is devastated. The wife was crying on the phone. She said they didn't know you owned the property, that they were just trying to be closer to family, that. I don't need to hear this, Patricia. I know. I'm sorry. I just thought you should know that they're not trying to cause problems. They seem genuinely heartbroken. Thank you for letting me know. I hung up and immediately felt sick. This was wrong. All of this was wrong. I'd become the kind of person who weaponized property ownership, who used lawyers as shields, who punished people for wanting proximity. I'd become cold, hard, protected, and completely, utterly alone. That night, I did something I hadn't done in 3 years. I drove to my old house in Lancaster, the house William and I had raised Bradley in. I'd kept it as a rental property, but the tenants had just moved out and it was vacant. I walked through those rooms in the dark, My footsteps echoing on the hardwood floors. William had refinished himself. The kitchen where I'd made thousands of meals. The living room where we'd opened Christmas presents. The staircase where I'd measured Bradley's height every year with pencil marks on the wall. Marks that were still there under layers of paint. This house held memories. Love. Family. All the things I'd built and lost and couldn't seem to find again. I sat on the floor in what used to be Bradley's bedroom and cried. Really cried. Not the angry tears I'd shed when he hurt me, or the bitter tears when they came asking for money. These were grief tears. Mourning tears. The kind that come when you finally admit that being right doesn't make you whole. Gerald was correct. Righteousness was a cold companion. I'd built my kingdom brick by brick. Made myself powerful, wealthy, untouchable. And in the process, I'd lost the one thing that had ever really mattered. My son. My family. My heart. Around midnight, sitting on that floor in the dark, I made a decision. I pulled out my phone and typed a text to Bradley. The first communication I'd initiated in over 3 years. *The farmhouse is yours. No charge. Consider it an early baby gift. But you need to know something, I'm terrified. Terrified you'll hurt me again. Terrified I'll let you. Terrified this is a mistake. But I'm more terrified of becoming someone who chooses pride over love. So here's my offer. Move here if you want. Be my neighbors. Let me know my granddaughter. And we'll try this again. Carefully. With boundaries that are about respect, not revenge. Or don't move here. Stay in Chicago. Live your lives. And I'll respect that too. But either way, I'm sorry. Sorry for making you buy my love with a contract. Sorry for using money as a weapon. Sorry for forgetting that family is supposed to be messy and complicated and worth fighting for. Your choice. No strings. I mean it this time. I hit send before I could change my mind. Then I sat in that empty house and waited for a response. It came 20 minutes later. Mom. Oh my God, Mom. We'll be there tomorrow. We need to talk. Please. Just talk. No money. No contracts. Just us. I stared at those words until they blurred. And then I typed back. Tomorrow. My house. Noon. I'll leave the gate open. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. I kept playing out scenarios in my head. What I'd say. What they'd say. How it would feel to see them again, to see Vanessa's pregnant belly, to talk about the future instead of the past. By morning, I'd changed my mind at least 40 times. But I didn't take back the invitation. At 11:45 a.m., I opened the gate. Left it standing wide. A symbol and a risk. At 11:58, their car pulled up the driveway. I watched from my study window as they got out. Vanessa was visibly pregnant now, her belly round under a simple sundress. Bradley looked nervous, his hands shoved in his pockets the way they always were when he was scared. They stood together looking up at my house, and I saw Vanessa take his hand. Then they walked to my front door and knocked. I opened it before they could knock twice. For a long moment, we just stared at each other. 3 years of silence and hurt and pride stood between us like a wall. And then Bradley did something I didn't expect. He hugged me. Just stepped forward and wrapped his arms around me and held on like he was drowning and I was the shore. I felt his tears on my shoulder. Felt his whole body shaking. I'm so sorry, Mom, he whispered. I'm so sorry. And just like that, the wall started to crack. I hugged him back. Let myself feel all the love I'd been holding hostage for 3 years. Let myself be his mother again, even if it meant risking everything. When we finally pulled apart, Vanessa was crying too. But she didn't try to hug me. She stayed back, respectful, waiting. Thank you for seeing us, she said quietly. Thank you for the house. Thank you for giving us another chance. I haven't given you anything yet, I said, but my voice was softer than it had been. Come inside. Let's talk. We sat in my living room, the formal one I'd used to impress guests and prove my worth. Now it just felt cold and empty. I should have taken them to the kitchen. Somewhere warm. But it was too late to change venues. I meant what I said in the text. I started. I'm terrified. Of being hurt again. Of being used. Of losing myself trying to be what you need me to be. We don't want to use you, Bradley said. Mom, I swear, that's not what this is about. Then what is it about? Why did you try to buy property next to mine without telling me? They looked at each other. Some silent communication passed between them. Because we wanted to prove something, Vanessa said finally. To you. To ourselves. That we could build a life here without your financial support. We were going to get a mortgage, use what's left of the money you gave us for a down payment, work hard, and show you we weren't just leeches. That we wanted you in our lives for the right reasons. And you thought moving next door without asking was the way to do that. We thought showing up and working hard was better than more empty promises, Bradley said. We thought maybe if you saw us trying, saw us building something, saw us being good parents to your grandchild, maybe you'd give us a real chance. I wanted to believe them. God, I wanted to believe them so badly. What happens when the money runs out again? I asked. When things get hard and you need help. We figure it out ourselves, Bradley said firmly. Mom, I'm not proud of the fact that we needed your help. I'm not proud of a lot of things. But I'm working 2 jobs now. Vanessa's going back to school to get her real estate license. We're in counseling. We're budgeting. We're trying to be people you can be proud of. I've always been proud of you, Bradley. That was never the issue. Then what was? Respect, I said simply. I needed to know you respected me. That you saw me as more than just a resource or a burden. I do see you, he said, gesturing around the room. I see what you've built. Mom, you're incredible. This house, your business, everything you've accomplished, I had no idea. I'm in awe of you. I'm in awe of what you did after Dad died. You didn't just survive. You thrived. You became this powerful, amazing woman, and I'm so proud to be your son. The words hit me right in the chest. But I need you to know something, he continued. I don't want to be your neighbor so I can use you. I want to be your neighbor so my daughter can know you. So she can grow up seeing her grandmother, learning from her, understanding what it means to be strong and independent and resilient. I want her to have what I had growing up, a mom who shows up, who loves fiercely, who makes everything better just by being there. Vanessa spoke then, her voice soft but steady. Mrs. Whitmore, Dorothy, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. What I said about you was cruel and wrong and I can't take it back. But I can spend the rest of my life trying to make up for it. I can raise your granddaughter to know what an amazing woman you are. I can make sure she understands that strength and vulnerability aren't opposites, that you can be both successful and caring, that women lift each other up instead of tearing each other down. She paused, tears streaming down her face. And I can promise you that I'll never, ever take you for granted again. Because I know what it's like now. To need family and not have it. To realize too late what you've thrown away. I don't want my daughter to grow up without her grandmother because I was too proud or too stupid to fix what I broke. I looked at them both. Saw the sincerity in their eyes. The hope. The fear. And I realized something important. Forgiveness wasn't about them deserving it. It was about me choosing to take the risk anyway. If you move into that farmhouse, I said carefully, there have to be ground rules. They both nodded eagerly. I'm not your bank. I'm not your backup plan. I'll help in emergencies, real emergencies, but I won't enable you to live beyond your means. Understood, Bradley said. I need space. I need my own life. I can't go back to being the mother who's always available, always sacrificing, always putting you first. I've built something here, and I need to protect it. We want you to protect it, Vanessa said. We want you to have your own life. We just also want to be part of it. On your terms. And the baby, I said, my voice catching. I need to know this isn't just about having free childcare or someone to. It's not, Bradley interrupted. Mom, we want you to know your granddaughter because you're her grandmother. Not because we need anything from you. Just because family should know each other. Love each other. Be there for each other. I sat back, processing. This was the moment. The decision point. I could protect myself completely and stay alone, or I could risk everything and try again. Okay, I said finally. Okay. Bradley repeated, like he couldn't believe it. Okay. Move into the farmhouse. Be my neighbors. We'll try this. Slowly. With healthy boundaries. And if either of us feels like those boundaries aren't working, we talk about it. We don't just walk away or cut each other off. We communicate like adults. Deal. Deal, they said in unison. And then Bradley was hugging me again, and Vanessa was crying harder, and I was trying not to fall apart completely. I didn't trust them completely. Not yet. Maybe not for years. But I was willing to try. And sometimes, that's all love really is, the willingness to keep trying even when it's scary. They moved in 6 weeks later. I kept my distance during the renovation, even though every instinct told me to show up with casseroles and decorating advice. I'd learned my lesson about being too present, too available. Instead, I let them figure it out themselves, offering help only when directly asked. Bradley called me 3 times during the renovation. Once to ask if I knew a good electrician, I did. Once to ask if I minded them cutting down a dead tree near the property line, I didn't. And once, late at night, just to say thank you. For what? I'd asked. For giving us another chance when we didn't deserve it. You're my son, Bradley. You always get another chance. Just don't waste this one. I won't, Mom. I promise. Promises had failed me before. But I wanted to believe this one. The day they officially moved in was a Saturday in late August. I watched from my kitchen window as a moving truck pulled up to their house. Saw Bradley and Vanessa directing movers, carrying boxes, laughing at something. They looked happy. Young. Like maybe they were going to be okay. I didn't go over. Didn't want to intrude. But I'd left a gift basket on their porch early that morning. Coffee, tea, some homemade cookies, a bottle of wine. The card said simply, "Welcome home, Mom." Bradley texted me a photo of it 2 hours later with a message. "Thank you. Come over for dinner tomorrow? 6 p.m? Nothing fancy. Just us." I stared at that invitation for a long time before responding, "I'll be there." That Sunday dinner was awkward and lovely and painful and healing all at once. We ate takeout pizza at their half-unpacked dining room table. Talked about safe things, the weather, the house, the baby's due date, September 18th, just 3 weeks away. Avoided the hard topics like experts in emotional navigation. But at the end of the night, when I was getting ready to leave, Vanessa stopped me. "Dorothy, wait. There's something I need to give you." She disappeared upstairs and came back holding a wrapped box. "I've been working on this for months. I wanted to wait for the right time, and I think maybe this is it." I opened it carefully. Inside was a leather-bound photo album. Handmade, from the looks of it. The cover had been embossed with words, "The woman who taught me strength." I opened it slowly. The first page held a photo I recognized, me and William on our wedding day, both of us so young and hopeful. Where had she gotten this? Had Bradley given it to her? The second page, me holding infant Bradley in the hospital, exhausted and radiant. The third, me at Bradley's elementary school graduation, beaming with pride. Page after page of my life. My moments. My history. Photos I'd forgotten existed, documenting decades of love and sacrifice and presence. But it was the last few pages that broke me. Photos from my business opening. From the gala where I'd spoken. From the newspaper article about my success. And beneath each one, Vanessa had written captions in her careful handwriting. Asterisk, this is the woman I called dead weight. This is the woman I was too blind to see. This is the woman I need my daughter to become. Asterisk. I looked up at her through tears. She was crying too. "I made this to remember," she said. "To remember what I almost destroyed. To remember what strength really looks like. And to show our daughter someday, so she knows where she comes from. So she knows that her grandmother is a warrior." I couldn't speak. Could only hold that album to my chest and cry. Bradley put his hand on my shoulder. "We see you now, Mom. We really see you. And we're so grateful you gave us the chance to prove it." That night, driving home through the dark with that album on my passenger seat, I felt something shift inside me. The hard, protective shell I'd built around my heart started to crack. Not break, I wasn't ready for that. But crack enough to let a little light in. Maybe this was going to work after all. 3 weeks later, at 3:17 a.m. on September 18th, my phone rang. "Mom? She's coming. We're heading to the hospital. Can you, I know it's late, but can you? I'm already getting dressed. Text me which hospital. I'll meet you there." I drove through the empty streets of Lancaster doing 70 in a 45 zone, my heart pounding. This was it. The moment that would either cement our rebuilding relationship or expose its cracks. I got to Lancaster General Hospital at 3:52 a.m. Found Bradley pacing in the waiting area, his hair sticking up, his shirt on backward. "She's in labor," he said unnecessarily. "They say it's progressing fast. She's at 7 centimeters. They don't think it'll be long. Mom, I'm terrified. What if something goes wrong? What if?" "Nothing's going to go wrong," I said firmly, taking his hands. "Your daughter is going to be fine. Vanessa is going to be fine. And you're going to be a wonderful father." "How do you know?" "Because I raised you. And despite everything, I did a pretty good job." He laughed, a desperate sound. "Yeah. You did. Mom, I'm glad you're here. I know we said boundaries and space, but I just needed you. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." And I wasn't. I stayed with him through the whole thing. Held his hand when a nurse came out with updates. Walked him to the cafeteria at 5 a.m. to force coffee and a muffin down his throat. Reminded him to breathe when they finally called him back to the delivery room. "Do you want to come?" he asked. "Vanessa said you could if you wanted to be there when." "No," I said gently. "This is your moment. Yours and hers. I'll be right here waiting." He hugged me tight. "Thank you, Mom. For everything. For being here. For forgiving us. For being you." Then he was gone, rushing back to meet his daughter. I sat in that waiting room alone, surrounded by strangers having their own family dramas, and let myself feel everything. The joy. The fear. The hope. The love that had never really gone away, just gone underground. At 7:23 a.m., Bradley came back to get me. His face was streaked with tears. His eyes were red. And he was smiling wider than I'd ever seen. "Mom, come meet your granddaughter." I followed him down sterile hallways into a recovery room where Vanessa lay exhausted in a hospital bed, her hair plastered to her forehead with sweat. And in her arms, wrapped in a pink blanket, was the tiniest, most perfect creature I'd ever seen. "Dorothy," Vanessa said softly. "Meet Emma. Emma Grace Whitmore." Emma Grace. A beautiful name. Traditional. Strong. "Would you like to hold her?" Vanessa asked. My hands shook as I reached out. Bradley helped me, positioned my arms correctly, placed his daughter in them with the care of someone handling the most precious thing in the world. She was warm. Solid. Real. Her tiny fingers curled and uncurled. Her face scrunched up, then relaxed. She made a small sound, not quite a cry, just a protest at being moved. And I fell completely, irrevocably in love. "Hi, Emma," I whispered. "I'm your grandmother. I'm so happy to meet you." She opened her eyes, unfocused, unseeing, but somehow looking right at me, and I felt 3 years of pain and anger and hurt just dissolve. This was what mattered. Not contracts or boundaries or who was right or wrong. This tiny person who carried pieces of all of us, William's chin, Bradley's nose, genes I'd passed down through generations. This was family. "She's perfect," I said, looking up at Bradley and Vanessa. They were holding hands, watching me with their daughter, and the look on their faces was pure love. "For Emma. For each other. For me. We wanted to ask you something," Bradley said. "We know it's a lot, and you can absolutely say no, but—" "We'd like you to be more than her grandmother," Vanessa interrupted. "We'd like you to be present, active, part of her life in real ways. Not just holidays and birthdays. We want her to know you. Really know you. If you're comfortable with that." I looked down at Emma. At her perfect little face. At the future she represented. "I'd like that," I said. "I'd like that very much." And just like that, the rebuild was complete. Not the rebuild of what we'd had before. That was gone, broken beyond repair. But the rebuild of something new. Something different. Something stronger, maybe, because it had been broken and healed. We'd never be the uncomplicated mother-son relationship we'd been when he was young. Too much had happened. Too many words spoken and unspoken. Too much hurt. But we could be something else. Something built on respect instead of obligation. On choice instead of expectation. On love that had been tested and survived. I stayed at the hospital all day. Helped Vanessa figure out breastfeeding. Went to get Bradley real food. Held Emma while they both napped. And when visiting hours ended and they kicked me out, I drove home to my beautiful empty house and cried tears of joy and relief and gratitude. The next morning, I opened my gate and left it open. Not forever. I'd still need my space, my boundaries, my privacy. But for now, I wanted my family to know they could come home. Emma Grace changed everything. Not immediately, change like that never is. But slowly, in small moments that accumulated into something bigger. A text from Bradley asking if I wanted to come watch Emma while he ran to the hardware store. Vanessa showing up at my door with the baby in a carrier, asking if I wanted company while she took a walk. Sunday dinners that became a tradition, rotating between their house and mine. Small things. Normal things. Family things. But here's what nobody tells you about forgiveness: it's not a one-time event. It's a daily choice. And some days, that choice is harder than others. There were moments when old resentments would surface. When I'd hear Vanessa give Bradley instructions and think controlling. When Bradley would mention money stress and I'd wonder if they were about to ask for help. When they'd cancel plans and I'd feel that old familiar rejection creeping back in. But then Emma would smile at me, really smile, not just gas, and those resentments would fade. Or Vanessa would text me a photo of Emma wearing an outfit I'd bought her with the caption, "She looks just like her powerful grandmother." Or Bradley would show up at my door with takeout and a bottle of wine and say, "Vanessa's asleep, Emma's down for the night, and I just wanted to hang out with my mom." And I'd remember why I'd taken this risk. By the time Emma was 6 months old, I was seeing them 3 or 4 times a week. Sometimes more. I'd watch her while they went to doctor's appointments or ran errands. I'd bring dinner when they were exhausted. I'd sit on their couch and hold her while she slept, marveling at her tiny fingernails and perfect ears. But I also maintained my life. Kept running my business. Traveled to New York for estate auctions. Served on my boards. Had dinner with friends. Dated, briefly and unsuccessfully, a retired surgeon who talked too much about golf. I'd learned the balance: be present, but don't disappear into other people's needs. It was March, Emma was almost 6 months old, when Vanessa asked me a question that would test everything we'd rebuilt. We were at my house. Emma was doing tummy time on a blanket in my living room, and Vanessa and I were drinking tea and watching her. Normal. Easy. Until suddenly it wasn't. "Dorothy, can I ask you something personal?" My guard went up immediately. Of course. Do you think you'll ever fully trust us again?" I set down my teacup carefully. That's a big question. I know. But I need to know. Because sometimes I see you watching us, and I can see it in your eyes. You're waiting. Waiting for us to mess up again. Waiting for the other shoe to drop. And I don't blame you. But I need to know if that's ever going to change. I looked at Emma, who was working very hard to reach a toy just beyond her grasp. Determined. Persistent. Not giving up. "Honestly, I don't know," I said. "There's a part of me that's always going to be waiting. Always going to be protecting myself. Because you hurt me, Vanessa. Both of you. And that doesn't just go away because we're having nice Sunday dinners now." She nodded, tears welling in her eyes. "I understand. I do. I want to fix it. I want to make it right. But I don't know how." "You can't fix it," I said gently. "It's not something that gets fixed. It's something we live with. You hurt me. I hurt you back by cutting you off. We're both carrying scars from that. The question isn't whether we trust each other completely. Maybe we never will. The question is whether we can build something meaningful anyway. Can we? We're doing it right now, aren't we?" She smiled through her tears. "Yeah. I guess we are." Emma managed to reach her toy and immediately put it in her mouth. We both laughed. "I'm working on it," I said. "The trust thing. Every day that you show up, that you respect my boundaries, that you don't ask me for things I can't give, that helps. But it's going to take time. Maybe years. Maybe forever. And you have to be okay with that." "I am. I just needed to hear you say it. That there's hope. That we're not just going through the motions. We're not. I promise. This is real. Messy and imperfect and sometimes painful. But real." She reached over and squeezed my hand. "Thank you. For giving us this chance. For loving Emma. For being in our lives even when it's hard. Thank you for working so hard to deserve it." That conversation shifted something. Made the air clearer between us. We'd acknowledged the elephant in the room, and instead of destroying us, it made us stronger. But life has a way of testing your growth right when you think you've made it through the hard part. It was late April. Emma was 7 months old. I was at the office when Bradley called. "Mom, I need to talk to you about something. Can you come over tonight? After Emma goes to bed." My stomach dropped. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. I need your advice. About something big." Every warning bell in my system went off. But I kept my voice calm. "I'll be there at 7. I spent the rest of the day catastrophizing. They needed money. Bradley had lost his job again. They were getting divorced. They were sick. They were moving away. Every possibility ran through my mind like a horror film. By the time I showed up at their house that night, I'd worked myself into a quiet panic. Bradley and Vanessa were sitting together on their couch, looking serious but not devastated. That was something. "Okay," I said, sitting across from them. "Tell me." "I got a job offer," Bradley said. "A really good one. Back in Chicago." My heart stopped. "It's with a major consulting firm," he continued. "Double my current salary. Full benefits. It's everything I've been working toward. Everything we need to get completely financially stable." "That's wonderful," I heard myself say. "Congratulations." "But it means we'd have to move back to Chicago." There it was. The thing I'd been dreading. They were leaving. I was losing them again. Emma was going to grow up 6 hours away and I'd be the grandmother who saw her at Christmas and birthdays. "We said no," Vanessa said. I blinked. "What?" "We said no. We turned down the offer." "Why would you do that?" They looked at each other. Bradley spoke first. "Because we're not going to do that to you again, Mom. We're not going to choose money over family. We're not going to move away from you when we just got you back. That's not who we want to be." "But double your salary." "Doesn't matter," Vanessa said firmly. "We're making it work here. It's tight sometimes, but we're okay. And Emma is thriving. She has her grandmother 5 minutes away. She's growing up watching you work and succeed and show her what a strong woman looks like. We're not taking that away from her. Or from you." I couldn't speak. Couldn't process what they were saying. "Unless you want us to take it," Bradley added quickly. "If you think it's the right move for us, if you think we're being stupid turning down that kind of money, then we'll reconsider. But we wanted you to know that we're choosing you. We're choosing this. We're choosing family." If you're watching this and thinking about the choices we make between career and family, money and relationships, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if you're still with me on this journey, and I hope you are, check the description box for more stories like this one. The tears came before I could stop them. "You're really turning it down." "We already did. This morning." "But Bradley, this was your dream job. I remember you talking about firms like that when you were in college. This is everything you wanted." "I wanted it when I thought success meant money and status and climbing corporate ladders. But I'm 36 years old now, Mom. I've learned what actually matters. And it's not a corner office in Chicago. It's Sunday dinners with you. It's watching you teach Emma patty cake. It's knowing that when things get hard, I can walk over to your house and sit on your porch and talk to my mother. I don't want you to resent me for this. Or resent Emma. If this is the wrong choice financially." "It's not," Vanessa said. "We talked to a financial planner. We're on track. We're not living extravagantly, but we don't need to. We have everything we need right here." I looked at them both. At the determination in their faces. At the peace. They meant it. They were really choosing me. Choosing us. I don't know what to say. "Say you'll keep being our neighbor," Bradley said. "Say you'll keep showing up for Sunday dinners and teaching Emma terrible jokes and being the most incredible grandmother in the world." "I can do that," I whispered. Vanessa came over and hugged me then. Really hugged me. And for the first time since that terrible day 3 years ago when I'd heard her call me dead weight, I hugged her back without reservation. "Thank you," she said into my shoulder. "Thank you for being worth staying for." That night, driving home, I realized something profound. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about choosing to write a different ending. Bradley and Vanessa had hurt me. That was true. That would always be true. But they'd also fought to come back. They'd changed. They'd grown. They'd chosen me over money and career advancement and the easy path. And that meant something. That meant everything. The next few months were the happiest I'd been since William died. Maybe even happier, in some ways, because this joy was hard-won. Earned. Built on rubble and reconstruction. I watched Emma learn to sit up, then crawl, then pull herself to standing. I was there for her first tooth. Her first solid food, which she spit directly onto Vanessa's favorite shirt, and we all laughed until we cried. Her first word, which was mema but sounded suspiciously like Nana if you really listened closely. I celebrated my 64th birthday with them. A small dinner at their house with homemade cake that Emma destroyed with her tiny fists. Bradley gave me a photo album of the past year. Pictures of me holding Emma, teaching her, loving her. The inscription read, "To the woman who taught us that family is a verb, not a noun. We love you. We choose you. Every day." My business continued to thrive. I opened a third location in Baltimore. Hired 2 more people. Was profiled in a national magazine about women entrepreneurs over 60 who were disrupting industries and shattering stereotypes. And through it all, I maintained my boundaries. Said no when I needed to. Took solo trips when I needed space. Kept my own life vibrant and full. But I also said yes. Yes to babysitting. Yes to spontaneous visits. Yes to being needed in healthy ways. I'd found the balance. Finally. It was late September, almost Emma's first birthday, when everything came full circle in a way I never expected. I was at home, working in my study, when my doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. Bradley and Vanessa were at a pediatrician appointment with Emma. I opened the door to find a woman I didn't recognize. Mid-50s, professionally dressed, nervous. "Mrs. Whitmore? Dorothy Whitmore?" "Yes. I'm Jennifer Harrison. I'm a friend of Vanessa's mother. I hope I'm not intruding, but Vanessa gave me your information. I'm going through a divorce, and I need help liquidating some assets. She said you were the best in the business." I smiled. "Come in. Let's talk." We spent 2 hours going through her situation. She had jewelry, art, collectibles, all things that needed to be appraised and sold. I could help her. I gave her my rate, explained my process, and by the end of the meeting, she'd hired me. As she was leaving, she paused at my door. "Vanessa talks about you all the time. You know. She says you're the strongest woman she's ever met. That you built all of this from nothing after your husband died. She says you're who she wants to be when she grows up." My throat tightened. She said that. All the time. She's very proud to know you. Very grateful you're in her life. After Jennifer left, I sat in my study and cried. Happy tears this time. Healing tears. The girl who'd called me dead weight was now sending me business referrals. Was telling people she was proud to know me. Was trying to become like me. That's when I knew we'd really made it. Not back to where we were. That was impossible. But forward to somewhere new. Somewhere better. Emma's first birthday party was at their house. They'd invited family and friends, including me, of course, positioned not as a guest but as the guest of honor. Emma's favorite person, the invitation read, and Vanessa had meant it. The house was decorated with pink balloons and a banner that said Emma is ONE. There were at least 30 people there, Vanessa's parents, who were polite to me but clearly uncomfortable, knowing the history, friends from their church, neighbors, colleagues. And me. The grandmother. The matriarch. The woman who'd almost lost all of this and somehow found her way back. I watched Emma destroy her first birthday cake, a beautiful creation she absolutely demolished with both hands. Watched Bradley and Vanessa work together seamlessly, laughing and cleaning up and loving their daughter. Watched people congratulate them, coo over Emma, tell them what a beautiful family they'd made. And I felt proud. Not just of them, but of me. For taking the risk. For choosing love over protection. For building something strong enough to hold all of us. Near the end of the party, Bradley pulled me aside. "Mom, can I show you something?" He led me upstairs to what had been a spare bedroom. Opened the door. Inside was a fully furnished room. Adult-sized bed with a beautiful quilt. Nightstand with a lamp. Dresser. A comfortable chair by the window with a reading light. Fresh flowers on the dresser. Photos of me and Emma on the wall. What is this? Your room, Bradley said simply. We finished it last week. We wanted to surprise you. It's for whenever you want to stay over. When you're watching Emma overnight. When you just want to be close. When you need family. It's yours. Always. I touched the quilt, handmade, I realized. The pattern was familiar. Is this? Vanessa made it. From fabric she found at estate sales. She thought you'd appreciate the history in it. I sat on the bed, overwhelmed. You made me a room. We made you a home, he corrected gently. In our home. Because you're not a guest, Mom. You're family. And we want you to know that you always have a place here. Bradley. I know it doesn't erase what happened. I know we can't go back and undo the hurt. But we can move forward. We can build new memories. We can show you, every single day, that you matter to us. Not because we need you, but because we love you. I pulled him into a hug and held on tight. My baby boy. My son. Who'd broken my heart and then worked so hard to heal it. I love you, I said. I love you so much. And I'm so proud of the man you've become. I learned from the best, he said. We went back downstairs to the party. To Emma, who was covered in cake and giggling at everything. To Vanessa, who saw us coming and smiled, a real smile, warm and genuine. To the life we'd rebuilt from ashes and anger and pain. That night, after everyone left and Emma was asleep, the three of us sat on their porch with wine and talked. About everything. About the past. About the future. About how far we'd come. I want you to know something, I said. What you said to me that day, about me being dead weight, it destroyed me. But it also saved me. Because it forced me to build a life that wasn't dependent on anyone else's approval. It forced me to become someone I'm proud of. I wish I'd never said it, Vanessa said quietly. I know. But in some twisted way, I'm grateful you did. Not grateful you said it. That was cruel and I won't pretend otherwise. But grateful that it pushed me to grow. To change. To become this version of myself. You were always this version, Bradley said. We just couldn't see it. Maybe. Or maybe I had to become her. Either way, I'm here now. We're here now. And that's what matters. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars come out over Lancaster County, over our little corner of the world where three broken people had somehow become a family again. So what happens now? Vanessa asked. I smiled. Now? Now we live. We love. We show up for each other. We keep building this thing we've created. And when it gets hard, because it will get hard, we don't run. We stay. We fight. We choose each other. Every day, Bradley agreed. Every day, I repeated. And that's exactly what we did. You'd think that would be the end of the story. The happy resolution. The neat bow on all the pain and rebuilding. But life doesn't work that way. There's always another chapter. Always another test. Mine came on a cold November afternoon, exactly 4 years after I'd walked out of Bradley's Chicago house and driven away in tears. I was at my office when my phone rang. Unknown number. But I was expecting a call from a potential client, so I answered. Is this Dorothy Whitmore? The voice was unfamiliar. Male. Professional. Speaking. Mrs. Whitmore, my name is David Chen, he paused, corrected himself. David Morrison. I'm an attorney in Chicago. I'm calling regarding Vanessa Whitmore. My blood went cold. Is she okay? Is something wrong? She's fine. At least physically. But there's a situation I need to discuss with you. It involves Vanessa's parents, and it's rather sensitive. Is this a good time? I closed my office door. Go ahead. What he told me over the next 30 minutes was shocking, infuriating, and ultimately explained so much about Vanessa that I'd never understood. Vanessa's parents, Carl and Diana Pritchard, had been the ones funding her influencer lifestyle. The designer clothes, the expensive shoots, the luxury items she posted about. It was all bought with their money they'd given her with strings attached. They'd wanted her to maintain an image, to be an advertisement for their car dealerships, to represent the successful American family they wanted to project. When Vanessa married Bradley, they'd increased their support, seeing it as an investment in their brand. But when Bradley lost his job and they had financial troubles, Vanessa's parents made them an offer. move back to Chicago, live in a house they'd buy, let them be involved in every aspect of Emma's upbringing, and they'd take care of everything financially. Vanessa and Bradley had said no. They'd chosen Lancaster, chosen independence, chosen me. And Vanessa's parents had been furious. They'd cut Vanessa off completely, told her she was ungrateful, that she'd married beneath her, that she was throwing away her future for a sad old woman who couldn't let go of her dead husband. That last part made me see red. But it got worse. Now, Diana Pritchard was sick. Very sick. Stage 4 cancer with a poor prognosis. And she wanted to see Emma. Wanted to make peace with Vanessa before she died. But there was a catch. She wanted it on her terms. She wanted Vanessa and Bradley to bring Emma to Chicago for an extended visit. And she wanted me excluded entirely. She specifically stated that you are not welcome, David said carefully. She believes you've manipulated her daughter and grandson, and she wants time with them without your influence. I laughed. Actually laughed. She thinks I manipulated them? That's rich. I'm just relaying the message. Vanessa asked me to call you because she doesn't know what to do. Her mother is dying. She wants to make peace. But she won't go without you, and her mother won't see her with you. Where's Vanessa now? At home, I believe. She's quite upset. Her father called yesterday and delivered an ultimatum. Come within the next 2 weeks, on their terms, or don't come at all. He said if Vanessa truly loved her mother, she'd respect her final wishes. Manipulation. Pure manipulation. Thank you for calling, David. I'll handle this. I hung up and immediately called Bradley. He answered on the first ring. Mom. Did the lawyer call you? He did. Where's Vanessa? Upstairs. She's been crying for hours. Mom, I don't know what to do. Her mother is dying, and she's being forced to choose between. She's not choosing anything. I'm going to make this easy. Tell her to go to Chicago. Take Emma. Spend time with her mother. I'll stay here. Mom, no. That's not fair. Vanessa doesn't want to go without you. She said she's not going to let her parents treat you like. Bradley, her mother is dying. Whatever else Diana Pritchard is, she's Vanessa's mother. And Vanessa will regret it for the rest of her life if she doesn't go. So tell her I said to go. Tell her I'm fine with it. Tell her I understand. But do you? Understand, I mean? Because this is exactly what happened before. Her parents trying to cut you out, trying to make us choose. And you chose me, I said firmly. You both did. You turned down the job, you built a room for me in your house, you made me part of Emma's life. Bradley, I'm not worried. I'm not hurt. I'm secure enough in our relationship to know that Vanessa spending 2 weeks with her dying mother doesn't change anything between us. He was quiet for a long moment. Are you sure? I'm positive. Put Vanessa on the phone. I heard movement, murmured conversation. Then Vanessa's voice, thick with tears. Dorothy. Go to Chicago. Be with your mother. Let her meet Emma properly. Make your peace. But she said you can't come. She said terrible things about you. I can't just. Yes, you can. Vanessa, listen to me. I survived being called dead weight. I survived losing my son for 3 years. I survived building a life from nothing. I can survive 2 weeks of you being in Chicago with your dying mother. Your relationship with me is strong enough to handle this. What if she tries to turn me against you? Then you'll remember everything we've built and come home anyway. I trust you, Vanessa. Do you trust yourself? Silence. Then. Yes. Yes, I do. Then go. Love your mother while you still can. Let her hold her granddaughter. Make peace. And then come home to your family. Your real family. The one that includes me. I love you, she said, crying harder. I love you so much. Thank you for understanding. I love you too. Now go pack. After I hung up, I sat at my desk and let out a long breath. This was the test. The real test. Could I let them go, temporarily, knowing Vanessa's parents would spend every moment trying to poison them against me? Could I trust what we'd built? Yes. I could. Because I wasn't the woman I'd been 4 years ago, scared and desperate and clinging to whatever scraps of love I could find. I was Dorothy Whitmore. Businesswoman. Estate liquidator. property owner, grandmother, woman who'd rebuilt herself from ashes. And I was strong enough to handle this. They left 3 days later. I went over the morning they were packing up the car to say goodbye to Emma. She was 14 months old now, toddling around, saying a few words. When she saw me, she reached out her arms and said, "Nana." My heart melted like it did every single time. I held her close, breathed in that baby smell that was already fading into little girl smell. "I'm going to miss you so much, sweet girl. But you're going to meet your other grandma. And you're going to be so good for mommy and daddy, right?" She patted my face with her tiny hand. "Nana." "That's right. I'm Nana. And I'll be right here when you get home." Vanessa hugged me tight. 2 weeks. That's all. I promise. Take as long as you need. Family is important. "You're my family," she said fiercely. "You're my real family. And nothing they say is going to change that." "I know. Go. Be at peace." I watched them drive away, that rental car loaded with suitcases and baby gear and hope. And then I went home to my beautiful house and sat in my study and let myself feel the loneliness. It was okay to be lonely. It didn't mean I'd made a mistake. It just meant I loved them. And love always costs something. The first week was hard. The house felt too empty, too quiet. I threw myself into work, took on extra projects, stayed late at the office. Anything to avoid coming home to silence. But I also used the time for me. I took myself to dinner at expensive restaurants. Went to a play in Philadelphia. Drove to New York for a long weekend to visit museums and shop. Reminded myself that I had a full, rich life that didn't revolve around anyone else. Bradley called every day. "Just checking in, Mom. Wanted you to know we're thinking about you." "I'm fine, honey. How's it going there?" "It's complicated. Diana's pretty sick. Emma loves her, which is good. But Mom, the things they're saying about you. I don't need to know. Just be present for Vanessa. Support her. That's what matters." Vanessa told her mother that you're not the villain in this story. That you're actually the hero. Her mother didn't take it well. I smiled. I bet she didn't. I'm proud of her. Of Vanessa, I mean. She's standing her ground. She's not letting them rewrite history or trash you. She's telling them the truth, that we hurt you, that you had every right to walk away, that you came back and gave us another chance because you're incredible. She doesn't need to defend me, Bradley. Yeah, she does. Because you defend us. You defend our family. And that's what families do. By the end of the first week, I was genuinely okay. Not pretending. Not just surviving. Actually okay. The second week was when everything changed. The call came on day 13 of their Chicago visit. It was 11 p.m., too late for good news. I answered immediately. "Bradley? What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. Well, nothing new. But Mom, can you get on video? Vanessa wants to show you something." I switched to video call. Bradley's face appeared, tired but not distressed. Behind him, I could see they were in a hotel room, not at Vanessa's parents' house. Interesting. Where's Vanessa? Right here. She moved into frame, holding Emma, who was already in pajamas and sleepy. "Hi, Dorothy. Sorry to call so late." "It's fine. What's going on?" "I need you to meet someone." She adjusted the phone, and suddenly I was looking at another face. A woman in her early 50s, pale and gaunt, wearing a headscarf. Diana Pritchard. Vanessa's mother. The woman who'd called me a sad old woman. Who'd tried to cut me out of their lives. Who'd made visiting her conditional on my exclusion. "Mrs. Whitmore," Diana said, her voice weak but clear. "Thank you for taking this call." I didn't know what to say. Settled on, "You're welcome." "I need to apologize to you." Vanessa insisted, and she's right. "I've been unfair to you. Cruel, even. And I need to tell you why." This should be interesting, I thought. But I stayed quiet, waiting. When Vanessa first told me about Bradley, about how serious they were getting, I was thrilled. He came from a good family. Had a good career. Seemed like a catch. But then she told me about you. About how you'd just lost your husband. About how you were struggling. And about how close Bradley was to you. She paused, struggling for breath. Emma wiggled in Vanessa's arms, and I could see my daughter-in-law's face, tense, worried, determined. Diana continued, I saw you as a threat. Not because you were doing anything wrong, but because I'd already lost Vanessa. She'd moved away, built her own life, didn't need me anymore. And I was terrified that she'd bond with you, that you'd become the mother figure she turned to instead of me. So I encouraged her to set boundaries, to protect her marriage, to see you as clingy and dependent. My chest tightened. You told her to call me dead weight. No. But I didn't disagree when she did. I reinforced the idea that you were going to be a problem. That mothers-in-law were always problems. That she needed to establish dominance early or you'd take over her life. I looked at Vanessa. She was crying silently. I poisoned her against you, Diana said flatly. And I'm sorry. Because this week, watching you let them come here, watching Vanessa defend you, watching Bradley talk about how you gave them a second chance even though they didn't deserve it, I realized something. You're not the villain in this story. I am. Diana, Vanessa started. No, let me finish. Diana looked directly at the camera. Mrs. Whitmore, Dorothy, you did everything right. You loved your son. You supported him. You stepped back when it was clear they needed space. And when they came to you desperate and broken, you helped them. You gave them money, yes, but more importantly, you gave them grace. You gave them another chance. And you built a relationship with my daughter that I've never been able to have. She started coughing. Vanessa shifted Emma and rubbed her mother's back. When Diana could speak again, she continued, Vanessa told me everything this week. About the contract. About how you almost didn't let them back in. About the farmhouse and the room you have in their home and how you watch Emma and how you've become the kind of grandmother I always wanted to be but never figured out how. Mrs. Pritchard. I'm dying, Dorothy. Probably have a month, maybe 2. And I don't want to die with this between us. With my daughter having to choose between honoring her dying mother and maintaining the family she's built with you. So I'm releasing her from that obligation. I'm telling you, publicly, in front of witnesses, that you are welcome in my daughter's life. In my granddaughter's life. And that I was wrong about you. I didn't know what to say. This woman who'd orchestrated so much of the pain in my relationship with Bradley and Vanessa was apologizing. Genuinely apologizing. I accept your apology, I said finally. And I'm sorry you're sick. I'm sorry Vanessa is losing you. Whatever else has happened, she loves you. That's obvious. Diana smiled weakly. She does. More than I deserve. Mrs. Whitmore, will you do me a favor? If I can. Will you take care of her? After I'm gone. She's going to need a mother. And you're better at it than I ever was. My throat closed. I'll do my best. That's all I can ask. Thank you. For everything. For being the woman I couldn't be. Vanessa moved the phone away then, taking her mother out of frame. I heard Diana say something, heard Vanessa respond, and then Vanessa came back on camera alone, tears streaming down her face. I'm so sorry, she said. I'm so sorry she put you through that. I'm sorry I let her influence me. I'm sorry for all of it. Vanessa, stop. You don't need to apologize for your mother. She was protecting you the only way she knew how. It was misguided, but it came from love. It came from jealousy. Maybe. But also fear. Fear of losing you. I understand that fear better than you know. Bradley came back into frame, his arm around Vanessa. Mom, we're coming home tomorrow. Diana wants us to go. She says she's made her peace and she doesn't want to keep us here watching her die. Are you sure? Vanessa, are you okay with that? I'm sure, Vanessa said. We've had our time. We've said what needed to be said. And honestly, I miss home. I miss you. I miss you too. All of you. Come home. We will. First thing tomorrow. Mom. Yes. Thank you. For being you. For showing me what it really means to be a mother. To forgive, and love, and stay even when it's hard. That's what family does, I said simply. After we hung up, I sat in my study for a long time, processing everything Diana had said. This woman I'd never met, who'd never spoken to me until tonight, had shaped so much of my pain. And now, at the end of her life, she was trying to make it right. It didn't erase what had happened. Didn't undo the years of hurt. But it explained it. And understanding, even if it doesn't fix everything, makes the carrying easier. They came home the next evening. I was waiting on their porch when they pulled up, and Emma saw me through the car window and started chanting Nana. 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 I scooped her up the moment Vanessa opened the door, held her tight, breathed her in. I missed you so much, sweet girl. Missed Nana, she repeated, which was probably just mimicking, but I chose to believe she meant it. We went inside, their home, which was also my home in all the ways that mattered. Bradley made coffee. Vanessa ordered pizza. Emma played with toys she'd missed. And we sat together and talked about everything. About Diana's apology. About Vanessa's complicated feelings toward her mother. About forgiveness and understanding and how messy family really is. She died this morning, Vanessa said quietly. About an hour after we left. The hospice nurse called. She went peacefully. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I know. Thank you. For everything. For letting us go. For trusting us. For being there when we came home. Where else would I be? Anywhere. You have a whole life. You don't need us. Need. No. Want. Absolutely. There's a difference. Bradley smiled. That's the difference, isn't it? Between the relationship we had before and the one we have now. Before, you needed us because we were all you had. Now you want us because we're family. And we want you for the same reason. Exactly. We sat in comfortable silence, Emma falling asleep in my arms, pizza getting cold on the coffee table, the world outside going dark. What happens now? Vanessa asked eventually. I smiled. Now? Now we keep living. Keep loving. Keep showing up. Keep choosing each other. Every day, Bradley said. Every day, I agreed. 6 weeks later, we gathered for Emma's second Christmas. The house was full of decorations Vanessa had insisted on putting up the day after Thanksgiving. There was a tree in the corner covered in lights and homemade ornaments. Presents spilled out underneath it. The smell of cinnamon and pine filled the air. I was in the kitchen helping Vanessa with dinner when she said something that stopped me cold. Dorothy, Carl called yesterday. My father. He wants to give me my inheritance early. From my mother's estate. It's substantial. Enough to pay off all our debt and still have money left over. That's wonderful. He had one condition. My stomach dropped. What condition? That I promised to use some of it to take you on a trip. He said my mother would have wanted me to thank you properly for everything you've done for our family. For taking care of the daughter she couldn't figure out how to love right. I couldn't speak. So I'm asking, Vanessa continued. Will you come to Italy with me next spring? Just the two of us. A week of good food and wine and art and being tourists together. My treat. Actually, my mother's treat, but you know what I mean. Vanessa, you don't have to. I want to. Please. Let me do this. Let me show you what you mean to me. I looked at this woman, this girl who'd called me dead weight 4 years ago. Who'd hurt me so deeply I'd almost lost myself. Who'd worked so hard to earn her way back into my heart. And I saw family. Real family. The kind that's built, not born. The kind that survives hurt and comes back stronger. I'd love to go to Italy with you, I said. She hugged me then, tight and long, and I hugged her back without reservation. Later that evening, after Emma was asleep and the dishes were done and we were all sitting by the fire with wine, Bradley raised his glass. I want to make a toast. We all raised our glasses. To Mom. To the woman who taught us that love is a choice, not an obligation. Who showed us that forgiveness is possible even when it seems impossible. Who built an empire out of heartbreak and then shared it with us anyway. We don't deserve you. But we're grateful every day that you chose us. To Dorothy, Vanessa echoed. To Nana, Emma added, which made us all laugh since she had no idea what was happening but wanted to participate. To family, I said. The one we're born with and the one we build. May we never stop fighting for both. We clinked glasses. Drank. Sat together in the warmth of a home we'd all helped create. And I realized something profound. I'd started this journey 4 years ago wanting revenge. Wanting to show them what they'd lost. Wanting to build something so big they'd regret ever dismissing me. I'd succeeded. I'd built the empire. I'd become the powerful woman I'd needed to be. But the real victory wasn't the business or the properties or the money. It was this. This moment. This family. This love that had been broken and rebuilt and was somehow stronger for the breaking. My daughter-in-law had called me dead weight. My son hadn't defended me. And I'd left. But they'd come back. They'd fought for me. They'd changed. And I'd let them. That was the real revenge. Refusing to become bitter. Refusing to let hurt define me. Refusing to close my heart permanently. I'd built a life they couldn't afford to visit. And then I'd opened the gates anyway. Because that's what love does. It risks. It tries again. It keeps the door open even when everything in you wants to slam it shut. As I sat there with my family, my chosen, earned, fought for family, I thought about the woman I'd been 4 years ago, crying in her car on the side of the highway, broken and dismissed. I wished I could tell her what I knew now, that the breaking was necessary, that the pain had purpose, that she'd survive it and come out stronger. I wished I could tell her that her son would come back, that his wife would become like a daughter, that her granddaughter would say Nana and mean it. I wished I could tell her that she'd build something beautiful out of the rubble. But maybe she knew. Maybe some part of her, even in that darkest moment, knew that Dorothy Whitmore wasn't done yet. Not even close. So here's what I want you to know, if you're watching this and going through something similar. People will hurt you. Sometimes the people who are supposed to love you most. You can choose to become bitter, or you can choose to become better. You can close your heart permanently, or you can leave the gate open while maintaining your boundaries. You can build walls so high nobody can hurt you, or you can build a life so full you don't need walls. Revenge isn't about making people suffer. It's about becoming someone they can't dismiss. Someone undeniable. Someone who proves them wrong just by thriving. My daughter-in-law called me a burden. My son didn't defend me. Today, they stand in my home, the home I bought with money I earned, grateful that I gave them another chance. That's the revenge. Not the money or the property or the success. The revenge is that I became someone worth fighting for, and they fought for me. The revenge is that I loved myself enough to walk away, and them enough to come back. The revenge is that we're here, together, choosing each other every day. That's the real victory. If this story spoke to you, leave a comment below. Tell me about your own journey with family, forgiveness, or finding yourself. And check the description box for more stories like this, stories about survival, strength, and second chances. Thank you for listening to mine. This was my revenge. But it was also my redemption. And in the end, those might be the same thing.